created a tournament-style bracket of all the worst potential rulers in Westeros to figure out which one of these fools would lead the kingdom into absolute ruin if they ever, God forbid, ascended the throne. Introducing the worst rulers in Westeros! To start off, we have Theon Greyjoy, before he was turned into Reek, versus Melisandre, the Red Lady, the old but the beautiful, secretly old. I split Theon into 3 different people because his character changes so drastically throughout the series, and it's worth considering all 3. Let's start with Theon. Theon pre-Reek is, quite frankly, a dick. He doesn't really care that much about other people. He's really selfish. He would be a very prideful king. That being said, I don't think he would be horrendous, but when he was taking over Winterfell, 1, he backstabbed his friend. That's very bad. I think I'd go Theon as a better king, because at least he's seen how the Starks work. Melisandre would only care about herself and get things done for her. Also might impose her. Ooh, yes. Melisandre's religion would come into play massively. I think literally the kingdom would turn into a theocracy. I think it would be largely ruled by religion. Anything that she says, oh, I've seen in the fire, the red god wants blah, blah, blah. The red god is fucked up. I think Melisandre would be a worse queen than Theon being a king. Theon probably wouldn't listen to his small council very much, but he would sometimes. Melisandre would just be like, the red god, the red god, the red god. I don't need a small council. And that is like super fucking dangerous because she's come up with some very bad things. Shadow demon baby, burning Shireen alive, thinking that she can predict the future when she can't. I think we say Melisandre wins this round against Theon. Theon, you are better in this one regard. And just because why not, let's generate some images of Mel beating Theon to ascend the throne. Oh, this is actually really good. I mean, it's weird, but it's actually really good. Oh, dude, I like this one. He's like on his hands and knees. Damn. Oh my god, we have the Hound versus Hodor in round 2. I think Hodor would not be an absolute dogshit king, but only if his small council was decent. He would essentially be a puppet. Honestly, Hodor is very lovable, also very loyal. I gotta say Hodor is an easy win here. The Hound can fight, has little Arya as a friend. It would be strong leading the army while Hodor. I can see the Hound pretty easily turning into someone like Maegor, though, not gonna lie. I can see him killing a lot of people just because they fucked with him. He's very kind of erratic. Like, he was in the middle of the Battle of Blackwater and he was just like, I'm leaving. Hodor would be worse because unless people in Westeros understand Hodor's speech, here's what I think would happen. Yes, you would be like, Hodor. People would just be like, okay, this guy's mentally ill. We are gonna interpret what Hodor says. That's what I assume. I'm kind of making an assumption here. Oh, why did we include Hodor? This is hard. The Hound could potentially be an okay king though. The Hound also has compassion too. Remember Sansa? Like, he always has compassion for Sansa. Maybe the Hound would be a better king than Hodor. I thought I would never say those words. Hodor worse? I'm thinking you're right. The Hound would mostly leave running things to the council, but would care enough to step in when needed. That's a good point. The Hound is honestly super smart. He knows what he doesn't know, I feel like. Very good point. Very good point. He did look after Arya pretty well. And, you know, worst thing come to worst, he would probably be pretty good at just fucking waging war on everyone and taking over kingdoms. Is Hodor gonna be the worst king? Oh, dude, that's so good. Look at that. Next one, Tywin versus Theon post-Reek. Tywin, like I said, I think would be, at worst, a bad king, but at best, a pretty good king. He's super self-serving. Like, he would never put his family at harm. But I mean, the Targaryens were too. Like, they were very much so. And they had a lot of good rulers. I think Tywin's just a better king. He's so much smarter. Tywin is kind of an evil guy, but he's not so evil that he's just gonna like try to kill people and like do like crazy shit. Theon post-Reek is really just a pushover. Like, he just is almost not human anymore. I think Theon wins this one easily. Tywin knows his shit and doesn't take shit from anyone. He's loyal to his family, but yeah, that I'm with you on that. I think this one easily goes to Theon too. People just walk all over him. Our right side, we got Tormund versus Gilly. Honestly, these are 2 pretty decent rulers. I think Gilly would not know anything is her downside. Oh yeah, she would. I think basically she just wouldn't know what to do. She'd just be like, okay, While Tormund is too stubborn to listen to his counsel, but he would be very tough commanding. Ooh, that's a good point. Tormund is very stubborn. Jon did get him to yield, but Jon was basically a wildling at that point, so that's tough. I would say Tormund is a bit more wildling than Gilly, and that could be very problematic for a Westerosi king or ruler. Like, imagine how the other kingdoms would look upon Westeros if a wildling were ruling. Like, they would be like, dude, you have a literal savage as your king. Why would we ever, like, even deal with you? Basically, he's leader of a wildling clan. Tormund is stubborn, but he does know how to listen to people who know better than he does about subjects. I think only if he respects them, though. I think he doesn't care if he doesn't respect them. Sam Tarly would definitely be on the council. I think Gilly would easily. That's true. Ooh, she would be. She's not smart, and I don't mean to say this in a mean way. Genuinely, Gilly didn't have the opportunity to learn anything. Like, she's not very exposed to anything. Like, Gilly in politics would be completely awful. I'm kind of leaning towards Gilly being worse here. I think Tormund would actually be pretty smart about most things, but then there would definitely be a lot of things that he would not be good at, like listening to certain people, even when it's definitely the right thing to do. Yeah, I feel like Gilly would be worse. Tormund wouldn't be too bad. Too much temper. Yeah, true. Tormund does also have a temper, but at least he has a temper unlike Gilly. Yeah, Gilly would. I think the biggest problem Gilly would come into is that she would be easily manipulated. Yeah, let's go with Gilly. Cocky shithead Jaime versus Khal Drogo. Jaime's not a terrible person. Well, actually, kind of is. Hold on. Jaime's bad, but he knows kind of how to lead people. He is definitely a solid leader of Westeros. He's on the King's Guard. Like, he grew up around the crown. Tywin would probably be guiding him if he's not dead in this situation. He knows not to be too shit of a king because he had to kill a shit king because they were that bad. So he knows the consequences of being a bad king. He knows kind of generally how to rule people, how to lead people. That's a very good point. If him and Tyrion are together, Tyrion being the hand of the king, or at least on the council, oh my god. Tyrion obviously should just be the king. Khal Drogo is just brutal. Khal Drogo is a fantastic character in my opinion, but my god, he's not a king of Westeros. Khal Drogo is a great call. Fantastic. One of the best, probably. But he would be an awful king of Westeros. Wait, we got two Starks on the same side. Arya Stark or Catelyn Stark? I'm gonna say this is Arya. Let's say around the time that she's becoming like a faceless person, faceless man. Why did I say person? They're literally called a faceless man. Cat would be the better queen, easy. Yeah, you're probably right. Arya doesn't know anything about ruling. Arya would be an okay ruler, but I think Arya doesn't know anything about ruling. Arya's pretty selfish, but for a good reason. Like, she had a lot of bad shit happen to her. I think Arya would be worse as a queen. I actually think Cat would be a good one. She's strong-willed and intelligent. Yeah, I think that's pretty much all you have to say about Cat. She's smart. She knows how to lead already in a way. I mean, she's the wife of the Warden of the North. She would actually probably be pretty good. So yeah, I think it's pretty clear. I don't think there's much more to say, honestly. I think Arya would be a worse queen. I don't think Arya knows anything about leading. All right, for our final round one. Okay, I would say Bran has to be a better king, but like, Bran serves a higher power similar to Melisandre. Not a higher power, but more of like, he cares about things in like the long run, which is really great, but also he's super unempathetic. Yeah, that's true. Bran is the higher power. Remember Mira? She was like, yo, like, we went through all this stuff. Like, we were like trying to help you, and like, we did help you. We helped you get to where you're supposed to be, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, thanks. But he's also lost a lot of human aspects. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, he's basically not human anymore. I think he'd be a really good king, TBH. He's too OP. Meds can look at his enemy through the web and literally always win. Yeah, I agree that he could always make the right decision, but like, he can't talk to people worth anything. Or a lot of the best kings have really good charisma, regardless of how good of a king they actually are. Maybe he's just too OP. Maybe he would be the best king. He is broken, literally and figuratively. Like, he is OP. Olenna, I think, would be a pretty good queen. I think Olenna is pretty much the female version of Tywin. She's really self-serving, but she's also really smart. She thinks ahead really well. She listens to people. She also has pretty bad charisma, though. On the converse, her rudeness and sharp-tonguedness is kind of endearing in a way. Like, you know how, like, sometimes old people are just, like, really crotchety, and that's kind of like, grandma. He has the answer and knows how everyone is doing to react, and that's a good point. I think you're right. Knowing everything is just way too OP. Olenna's rudeness is a liberty she takes because she knows she can get away with it because of her age. That's pretty smart. And like I said, that's pretty much how I see it sometimes. Like, it's kind of funny. I don't think Olenna would be bad. However, she'd be kind of Littlefinger-ish and play the game as well. She'd definitely play the game, for sure. She's not trying to break the wheel. That's for sure. But yeah, I think you're right. I think Bran's too OP. Olenna's the worst queen. Olenna's the worst ruler. Let's get started on round 2. Viserys and Melisandre. Ooh. 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 This is the hardest one yet to me. Okay, Viserys, obviously way too angry, way too pompous, way too pretentious. The fact that he didn't know how to deal with the Dothraki, he doesn't even have a leader, like the charisma of a leader or the smarts, I think. Do we want an entirely religious bullshit dystopian society or just a fucking stupid dude who thinks the world is his? Yeah, this is tough. I actually think Viserys might be better because that entirely religious thing is pretty bad. Viserys is a shit, but we never got to actually see him control. I'm actually with you on that. I think, let me preface this, I am atheist. I might be very biased on this. Viserys sucks, but his whole family was ruling for a long time. He knows kind of how to rule. And Viserys had the right idea. He wanted to get an army. He wanted to cross the sea and get over to Westeros. He kind of knew what he had to do, kind of a little bit knew what he had to do to get it to work. Mel literally would just create a theocracy. It would literally just be, whatever the Red God wants, that's what we do. She's basically a cultist. A Mad Targaryen who will probably burn people alive, or a religious zealot whose religion burns people alive. That's a really good point. Feel like Viserys would at least know kind of how to do something. He would rule with a pretty big iron fist, I think, though. I'm thinking Mel here. I think Mel is one of the worst candidates, period, because she'd be ridiculous. She would say, the gods told me, so it's fine. She would be telling the truth is the thing. Are there any instances where the Red God does something good? I feel like no. I feel like he always wants to sacrifice someone or steal someone's blood. Like, come on. I'm super biased against religion, but theocracies have been successful in history. I think Viserys would be worse. Oh, we're split here. Ooh, this is tough. This might be the hardest one. If it gets harder than this, how the fuck am I gonna decide? It's a bad time. It's a bad time. Let's go Viserys. Viserys, worst king. Let's move on. Littlefinger versus Oberyn. Littlefinger, I think, would actually be a decent king. He would be pretty much like Tywin, I think. Maybe worse, because I think Littlefinger thinks he's smarter than he is. Like, I think it's actually kind of fair that he outplayed himself. I don't like Season 8 that much, but I do think it's reasonable that he would outplay himself and get killed. I think Littlefinger wins this, though. I think Oberyn would actually be a decent king. Oberyn's the Prince of Dorne and served in the Second Sons for... Oh, he did? Oh, wow. The only thing that I can say about Oberyn, though, is that Oberyn... I don't think he super cares to be, like, a super good leader. I think he more just want people to have more peace and banging. Littlefinger's kingdom is gonna be winning despite fucking everyone over. It's a good point. Littlefinger would be... Damn, they're like pretty equal on both. Like, Littlefinger's not terrible. Oberyn's not great. That's tough. Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think that's actually a big factor. People would really like Oberyn way more. Although, people don't super like people from Dorne. Littlefinger's too selfish. Yeah. I think he could put that a little bit aside to make a decent kingdom, though. I'm not gonna lie. I don't think it's super clear, but I do think Littlefinger's a little bit worse. All right, Shae and Hodor. What are we doing here, guys? What are we doing? Shae knows 0% about leading really anything but brotheling. I don't know, dude. I don't know. Hodor would literally be a puppet. He can barely communicate. But if he had if Hodor had a decent council, man, Hodor wouldn't be too bad. God, if he had a bad council, it would just be puppet. I actually think Shae's worse here. Shae clearly is super selfish as well. I think I prefer Hodor over the Savage Hoe that sleeps with everyone and does sneaky shit all the time. I'm actually with you. I think Shae would be worse. Hodor is a good person at his heart, I think. Shae's also easily manipulated too, though. I think Shae wins out here. It's kind of, obviously this is hard to say. I think Hodor's small council would hopefully at least try to help. It would more be like an oligarchy. It would just be a bunch of people ruling rather than just him. People would be like, oh, King Hodor, like, oh, he's so nice, you know? Shae, they'd be like, the whore from the brothel? Theon, Postreek, or Varys? Varys, I think, would be a pretty good king. He always thinks about the small people. Varys actually has the interests of the kingdom very much in mind. Yeah, Varys is goated. Yeah, I don't think there even needs to be much more said. Theon Postreek is just a super big pushover. Varys actually has a lot of good knowledge, and Varys would probably literally choose his successor and then step down. Do I need to say anything about this one? There's no way. You have to be joking. You have to be joking. Ramsay is a literal psychopath. Ramsay would kill so many people. Ramsay doesn't know how to rule. Ramsay knows how to lead with incredible fear. Is that ruling? Well, okay, I guess that it technically is ruling, but that's terrible ruling. I thought it was obvious. He is great at manipulating people as well, but he flays people alive and tortures them. Ramsay could literally be another Maegor the Cruel. Like, he would just kill people. I don't think Ramsay would be a good ruler, though. He is smart. You have a really good point. Ramsay's intelligence makes him alone a really good ruler. I think his cruelty is too much, though. Evil people can make good rulers, hated but effective. Okay, I think that's where I'm differing. I think a good ruler, okay, I won't say they have to be liked, but like, I mean, okay, yeah, if you're just considering like, oh, we keep the country together, we keep people like with money and, you know, having relatively decent lives, I guess so. Would Ramsay care enough about the small people, though? I cannot say Ramsay is a better ruler than Gilly. You make some good points. I think it would be far too brutal for people to like him. I think he would be too punishing. I think he would rule too much with an iron fist. But that being said, I see your points and they do make sense. And I see the argument being made for Gilly being worse, but I disagree. Ramsay, final answer. Khal Drogo versus Grey Worm. Grey Worm's a pretty good dude. I think he'd be pretty militant, but he's generally a good leader, but he's a good military leader than anything. I don't think he knows how to rule a country at all. Khal Drogo, having Khal Drogo the king in Westeros is just so awful, I think. God, the Dothraki are so bad. They are really, their culture is awful, to be quite frank. They are barbarians. I actually think someone would end up assassinating Khal Drogo. I think Grey Worm would be decent king, though. I think he would try to treat people fairly. I think he would not take shit. He would not like crime and stuff like that. That's a no-go. Like, he would be pretty hardcore on that. The Dothraki don't rule normally. Drogo wouldn't actually know anything about infrastructure, income, farming. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a very good point. He wouldn't know anything about any of that stuff. Maybe you would try to turn Westeros into a Khalasar, though, and just, like, start roaming around. I don't know. That would be insane. I think Khal Drogo wins this. All right, Reek versus Arya. Dude, it's Reek. Arya really doesn't know anything about ruling. Arya would really not be a good ruler. Low-key, Arya worse ruler than Reek? If Ramsay's still alive, Reek would just be Ramsay's puppet. Which we know now, from your arguments, Ramsay wouldn't be potentially the worst king ever. Just because he's really smart and he is manipulative, he does kind of know how to rule. He just would rule with a insanely iron fist and be incredibly brutal. But if Reek is just by himself, I mean, Reek is basically nothing. Reek is Reek. Reek reeks. Like, that's literally, that's all. Like, he would be so stepped on. And the kingdom would look far too weak, I think, with Reek as the king. They would be like, dude, your king sucks. Arya would at least show some kind of strength. I think Arya could learn how to rule, too. I don't think Reek could. I think I'm going with Reek here. Olenna versus Bronn. Bronn is super selfish. Olenna is self-interested for her family and herself. Who's more selfish, I think? And I think it's Bronn. Bronn is legit a mercenary, only for money. He's not a terrible guy, though. I actually think Bronn's a decent guy. You know, it's kind of neutral. Olenna's really, really smart also. I think Olenna's a better queen. I don't think Bronn even cares about ruling. I think Bronn would more just be like, yeah, just people do whatever they want. I think Bronn is also more of like a survival of the fittest. Like, he just probably let people die, wouldn't super care. I think Olenna at least would probably try to help people and stuff. Bronn would actually be a pretty terrible king. Now, the more I think about it, he's super just self-interested. Like, literally, all this man cares about is money. What do we got in the quarterfinals? We got Viserys Targaryen, Littlefinger, Shae, Theon post-Reek, Reek, Bronn, Khal Drogo, and Ramsay. These are bad rulers. Viserys Targaryen versus Littlefinger. I think Viserys would be significantly worse than Littlefinger. I don't think there's that much even of a question about it. Littlefinger would be way better. Littlefinger's really smart. He's very self-interested, but he wants to keep himself alive. In that regard, he will do things that might not be solely self-interested. So he would actually be, I think he could be a decent king. He'd be okay. I don't think he'd be bad. At worst, he'd be okay. Viserys just doesn't know how to lead. He doesn't know how to make compromises. He doesn't know how to talk to people. I mean, he just clearly does not know how to work with people to actually even raise an army. Like, it is just way too pretentious. No one would like him. The only reason Viserys could possibly be an okay king is because he's Targaryen. That's it. Like, people would be loyal because he's a Targaryen. Which, honestly, though, is actually a very good point. Littlefinger would just be so much better. He's too smart. Shae versus Theon post-Reek. Whew, this is tough. Shae does not know how to rule. Theon post-Reek also doesn't know how to rule. God, this realm would go to shit. But I lean more towards Shae. I just don't see how Shae could ever be a good ruler. How could she ever, like, she has no experience whatsoever in ruling or leading or doing anything. The one thing she did was she protected Sansa a little bit. One big thing that Theon post-Reek has going for him is he has compassion now, and he understands like what he did wrong in his past and everything. Like he has a pretty good understanding of like why he's in the position he's in. So he has wisdom. I think that's the biggest thing. Theon post-Reek has a lot of wisdom, I think. I think she would just not know at all what to do. And on top of that, I don't even think she would listen to her small council that much. She's very stubborn, in fact. So she would be a really bad ruler. She would be really bad. Theon post-Reek would actually be decently better. Ramsay versus Khal Drogo. Like I said, I like your points that Ramsay would be basically Maegor the Cruel, except he would be smarter, I think. I think the realm would function under Ramsay. It would be brutal as hell, but it would be functional. People would not mess with Westeros either. Like, they would be like, this dude is legit crazy. Like, Ramsay is psychotic, but his brain is all there. That's even scarier. That's what makes Ramsay scary. Khal Drogo, though. Khal Drogo is even more brutal than Ramsay, is the thing. Like, Ramsay's brutal. Khal Drogo's worse, actually. Like, he kills just for fun at any point. Ramsay kills for fun, too. But Khal Drogo, it's like an event to just, like, murk people. Yeah, I think Khal Drogo. God, I hate to say it, but Khal Drogo would be a terrible king. My God, I did not think it would be this bad. Reek versus Bronn. Ooh, this is a little tough. My mind goes more towards Reek, though. Reek is in no shape or form a ruler at all. Like, Reek is 100% manipulated. He has no decision making. He's not decisive at all. He has no strength. He has no political knowledge, really. Well, he kind of does, but yeah. Bronn at least is smart. Bronn is smart. Bronn knows how to get people to like him. Bronn knows how to kill people. Reek knows none of that. Reek would hide in his room all day. Like, I don't even think people would know Reek is the king. God, it's not even fair to put Reek on here. Reek is terrible. Westeros is fucked. Let's do Viserys and Shae. I think Shae's worse. I'm just gonna say it. I think Shae's worse. Viserys seems like a terrible ruler, but I just cannot imagine anyone. It's been the same thing every single time. I just cannot imagine anyone looking at Shae and wanting to do anything she says. And on top of that, I don't think Shae would listen to her counsel very well. She's super stubborn. She's super self-interested. Like, I think Shae genuinely might be the worst ruler here. Viserys at least has in his mind, like, oh, I kind of got to do these things to be a ruler. He set up the thing with Illyrio and to wed Daenerys off, as far as I know. At least he was somewhat involved in that. Like, that's pretty smart. He was trying to get an army going and stuff like that, you know? Viserys tried. Viserys tried to rule. He would have been very bad, most likely. I can't even think of what a Shae kingdom would look like. I think people would look down on Westeros so terribly because because Shae is... Oh, yeah, it's Shae. I'm actually surprised Shae... I wasn't even really thinking she would be that much of a contender, but Shae is not good. Shae, congratulations, you have made it through the finals. How do you feel about this?
I am a whore.
Khal Drogo versus Reek. We got the ultimate try-hard versus the ultimate untry-hard. I think Reek is worse. I think being an iron-fisted leader is better than being just a completely just nothing leader. Khal Drogo, the realm would be not in good shape. But I really don't think people would try to mess with the Westeros. Like, they'll be like, they have a giant Khalasar over there, and they enslave tons of people, and they, like, kill everyone, and they're really good at combat. As American, having a good army and a good military is very useful, even if that's, like, your one thing that you're good at. Reek, on the other hand, there's no telling how many bad people could get put into power because of him. If you are inviting people to start wars with you and stuff, that's way worse than someone being very iron-fisted. Drogo would suck, but at least he can rule, even if he's shit at it. I agree. And Drogo's not a bad ruler per se. He's a bad ruler in Westeros. He's a fantastic call. People would invade Westeros. They would try to fight him. They would try to dethrone Reek. They would try to manipulate Reek. Worse people would be in charge. People would be having all kinds of self-interested motives, taking over, just doing whatever they wanted. They wouldn't care what was going on to the small people. It would be chaos. I actually think it would just be chaos. And that means in the finals, we have Shae and Reek as two of the worst rulers you could ever have. Who is worse, y'all? Shae or Reek? The realm is in terrible position. I hate to even choose between these two. I almost want to say they're equally bad. Shae would be better. She can at least function and is intelligent. Reek is Reek. I think you're right. Reek is almost not human. I think you're right. Like, it's so funny that we're down to the point where, well, at least you're a functioning human. I think it is Reek. Reek is Reek. Reek does nothing. Reek gets manipulated. Reek gets invaded by other countries. I think Reek would be the worst ruler in Westeros.
Who raised these terrible rulers anyway? Well, we figured out who the worst moms are, at least in this video right here.